I don't know, I guess I can flap my ugly gums a little bit here. I've had some people that enjoy going back to the old days, but I try not to reminisce too much on that because, well, I do have a tendency to talk about the old days, and my dad was that way too, and anyways, I'm going to discuss a few things here. Years ago, I would do my own auto repairs back in the 60s and 70s. I'd pull my own steering wheels, and I got the old pickle fork down in the toolbox there to do ball joints and idler arms and all that stuff. These days I'm not doing much of that stuff at all. It's just very difficult to work on the newer vehicles, and I'm at the mercy of a garage. The old days, well, I've told you about the days when the gas prices were cheap, 22, 23 cents a gallon when I was a kid.
There was a set of them. There was that, and then there was that.
11, 12 years old or so, even younger than that. And I remember my dad pulling up to a gas pump and filling up his car for $3. Anyways, I still got a lot of stuff here out in the shed that I do basic stuff on cars, like I still do my own grease jobs and oil change, stuff like that, and change the valve cover gaskets and things like that on my 91 Dodge Dakota. Those are relatively easy things to do, and I do that, and I just did my wife's van oil change and grease and so forth, and check everything underneath and so on and so forth. But complicated things I don't do. When I told you about my 50 Studebaker Champion, and that's the car I learned on. I did a valve job on it. I bought it from an old guy who was actually, he's one of my influences for getting into electronics. We used to go out for coffee many times, and he was about 80 years old, or close to it, when I met him, and he used to do television and radio repairs, and he would, I would see him in a coffee shop, and we would sit here and would talk tech. And I learned a lot from him, and my first car that I bought from him. It was a 50 Studebaker Champion, which you've seen on my videos. And I bought it from him for $35. Now, the car was not running. It was sitting in the woods for probably 10 years. When he got it about 10 years before I bought it from him. And it smoked like hell. We did a valve job on it, but I didn't know too much about engines, and he was pretty knowledgeable, but he always told me, well, just do the valve job and you'll probably get rid of the smoke, and that was not the case. But I did learn a lot from him, basic car repairs and stuff. I rebuilt the wheel cylinders, did all new brakes on it. Replaced the brake shoes, and of course I didn't turn the drums or anything like that. We just put the shoes in and rebuilt the wheel cylinders. You can get these wheel cylinder kits. I don't have one here. I used to do a lot of car repairs to keep things running, but nowadays you just can't do it. You're at the mercy of a garage. Everything's special tools, computers and stuff. It's ridiculous. I like working on the old stuff, and I'm better at it. The only thing I'm not good at, and it's been proven on my mower video, which I no longer have on YouTube, is I'm no good at carburetors. Over here is carburetor stuff. In here is carburetor stuff, needle valve seats, and gaskets and stuff from the 70 Dodge Polara that my wife had, that I've rebuilt that carburetor. And they work, but you know, in those rebuilding kits, they don't give you all the stuff you need. They give you a couple of ball bearings, they give you a new needle valve and seat and the gaskets and everything, but they don't give you the float, and they don't give you a lot of the stuff that you need to rebuild a carburetor. And in all the years that I've done it in the past, I was never successful in rebuilding a carburetor. I've done a valve job, like I said, in my 50 Studebaker Champion, but the valve job that I did was what they call lapping in the valves. And there was valve grinding compound. You had the coarse, you had the can with a coarse compound on the top. You turn the can over, you had another cover with the fine compound. So you'd grind it in with the coarse first, you'd finish it off with the fine. And then what you're supposed to do is, this fella told me when I got the car, he was a machinist, and he said you take some Prussian, I think they call it Prussian blue, or Prussian blue, I think. It's a blue, and you put the valve down on it, and you see if there's any high or low spots, it'll show up on the seat and the valve. So anyways, I lapped the valves and replaced what I needed. 50 Studebaker Champion 6-cylinder, the blocks, the valves were in the head. And the only thing the head had was just a flat piece of steel with the 6 spark plug holes, and of course the water jacket. That's all it was. All your valves were in the block. Now you old timers would know that, you know, and you know, these books here tell you quite a bit about it, but I was just learning. So I was basically doing a job that really the engine should have been redone, the bearings and everything, because it had very low oil pressure. And I'd used, there's a car that would have, it was one of these things where fill up the oil and check the gas. I could go on a 50-mile trip. From here to New Haven is about 50 miles. Well, I didn't live here. I lived in New London, but it's about 10 miles from here, but that's beside the point. Used to get in that car and I'd have a 2-gallon can in the trunk of SAE 30 non-detergent oil, I think, is what they used in those things. And I used to go to the Sunoco station, and they used to sell the 30-weight oil. It was recycled oil, but it was, you know, cleaned and everything, for $1.75 for a 2-gallon can. Stick that in the trunk of the car with one of these oil bottles with the metal funnel on them that you unscrew. You'd fill up the glass, you'd screw that back on. I'd have that in the trunk of the car, and then glug, 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 1 quart of oil. It would use a quart of oil going to New Haven, 50 miles, and another quart coming back with a big cloud of smoke all the way down the back end of the car coming down. I had to get rid of that car because I got stopped by a cop. I didn't know he was behind me, and I see somebody tailgating me. So this car couldn't get over 50 miles an hour. So at that time, of course, it was I was part of Interstate 95 because I was driving, so there was Interstate 95 at that time, and I floored it. And of course, when you floored it, then the smoke really come belling out the back end, and you couldn't even see the cop in back of me until I saw the lights. And then I said, "Oh no!" So he got me for excessive smoke. So he gave me a warning, and I had to take the car in supposedly to have the smoke taken care of. Well, I couldn't really do anything, so I had to send the paper in to the motor vehicle department saying that I corrected the major cause of smoke, the smoking problem in the car. Actually, other than giving it a ring job, which I wasn't that good at, and my friend would help me on that stuff, but I didn't have the money or the machinery, and I certainly couldn't take the engine out and bring it down to a machine shop. I didn't have that kind of money. We did pull the engine eventually,